Hi everyone, my name is Charles Astruc. I'm blockchain manager at PwC, and it's a great pleasure for me to moderate this panel, Blockchain Unlocking the Value Chain for Better Traceability. Traceability is a key challenge for many sectors, from the food industry to luxury goods. To discuss this topic, we have four amazing speakers with us today. Charlotte Verhaeghe will join Matthieu, Antoine Lefebvre, and Guillaume Boilot. So I'm very happy to welcome all of you. Charlotte Verhaeghe, she will join us in a few minutes, is the marketing director for chocolate at Mondelez, leading famous brands like Milka, Côte d'Or, and Toblerone for the French business. In her previous role, she was a sustainability lead for Europe Biscuits. She has 20 years of experience in building brands and business models in several categories. Matthieu, Matthieu is a serial entrepreneur with a large experience in IT and digital technologies. He is also the co-founder and CEO of Tilkal. Tilkal is an end-to-end real-time traceability platform for supply chains, combining permission blockchain with data intelligence in a B2B ready solution. Our third speaker is Antoine Lefebvre. Antoine is the CEO of 3C, the Suez entities that help citizens and businesses to limit their environmental footprint through digital solutions. Suez is a worldwide leader for environmental services. Prior to joining Suez, Antoine worked at Expedia as COO of TravelDue, a leading tech travel company. And last but not least, Guillaume Boilot. Guillaume is the Chief Operating Officer of Vacheron Constantin. He has a large experience in the luxury goods industry. He previously worked for the prestigious Maison Guerlain within the LVMH group. Guillaume joined Vacheron Constantin in 2015 as supply chain director before becoming operations manager in 2017. So to start with, could you please explain us in a few minutes how you use blockchain to reinforce traceability on your business and the added value of this technology? Let's start with you, Guillaume, if it's okay.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Charles, and thanks for the invitation. Really happy to be here today to discuss about blockchain and blockchain in the luxury industry. Maybe just a few words about Vacheron Constantin for the non-watch lover, because it's key for us to understand why we choose blockchain and why we want to move forward on this aspect. Vacheron Constantin is one of the oldest watch manufacturer in continuous production since 1755, and innovation are clearly part of our journey for the full history of the maison. At Vacheron Constantin, we truly believe that blockchain is a highly relevant technology to connect client, product, maison, supplier, or third-party service provider in order to secure in a trust way the relation we could have all together. What is our long-term vision for this project? We clearly believe this technology is highly relevant for upstream supply chain about transparency and traceability, but also on downstream use case after the purchase of our watches. As of today, a few elements to share with you regarding what we are trying to do. We use blockchain for post-manufacturing traceability concern. We have implemented the Ariane protocol, an open source blockchain protocol allowing brands like Vacheron Constantin to create digital identities for the product they manufacture and sell. The life of a watch is a very specific journey, from servicing to resell to vintage, and we want to be able to trace, record, and maintain the link with the product. It is also and mainly an opportunity for a brand like Vacheron to propose a new relationship model based on service, value, and trust with our client, and this is clearly key in the luxury world today. Key element for us why we choose blockchain maybe the properties of the blockchain make it the best technology to produce unique digital objects, also known as non-fungible token. We use them to create unique digital identities for our product and to propose connected services on top. And this will come later in the fourth question. By creating this digital twin for each product, we offer our client the possibility to have the true ownership of the unique digital asset representing their unique digital asset. And this is key in why we use blockchain today. And finally, the cryptographic properties of the technology allow us to do while respecting the privacy of our client. And this also is a key element for us. To test this vision and in order to offer to our client the best guarantee possible, Vacheron Constantin decided to test this new certification in 2019. We conduct an initial test phase with Les Collectionneurs, a line of vintage pieces, specially chosen by the heritage specialist for the maison for restoration and the full story of the product. Following the extremely conclusive test we had for the last years, we have decided to extend the whole collection this certification in the months to come.
Okay, thanks a lot, Guillaume. Maybe Antoine on this?
Yes, sure. Happy to be with you today. So at first, we believe that blockchain will help solving some environmental challenges and build a more sustainable world. I'm sure you know that since the last 50 years, we are acknowledging the depletion of natural resources, and we consume today 3 times more resources than in 1970, and we know that this number will double in the next 40 years. To put it in a nutshell, this year, we're ending 2020, we will consume more than 1.5 planets. So there is an emergency to act, and we need to fight against the depletion of natural resources. The good news is that in the last decade, we are shifting from a linear model based on a take, make, dispose approach to a circular economy model. And the purpose of the circular economy model is to make sure that we are not talking anymore about waste, but from waste we are reproducing new resources based on the waste. And the traceability of the circular economy is key to make sure that end users, citizens, you, me, all citizens and producers are confident on these secondary raw materials. That's the first challenge, the confidence on the secondary raw material. And the second challenge is the capability of the supply chain. So here we are talking about the waste to resource supply chain to better cooperate and to have a better governance. So when we say we want more trust on the product and the secondary raw material and more governance, we directly believe that blockchain is the right technology. We have experimented the technology in one local circular loop in agriculture and launched the first blockchain for economy circular that we call Circular Chain.
Okay, great. Thank you, Antoine. So yeah, just before Matthieu, welcome Charlotte. We are very happy to have you with us today. So maybe on this first question on how you use blockchain to enforce the traceability on your business at Mondelez.
Thank you very much, Charles, and very happy to be with you today. So yes, indeed. So the first thing maybe is that consumers, as you know, in the food environment, they are really looking for more and more transparency, empowered by digital app like Yuka. And at Mondelez, we have a dual European program on sustainability called Harmony, which is a partnership with local farmers located close to our biscuit factories to grow wheat in a sustainable way. And since more than 10 years, actually, this program is pioneering about sustainability and transparency and traceability. And we wanted indeed to innovate by bringing the blockchain technology to allow consumer really to enjoy traceability. And what we did is to choose our most iconic biscuit. So I'm sure you know Le Verita Petit Beurre, produced at La Foissière, close to Nantes. And we implemented the blockchain technology to offer full traceability to consumers, and we bring it through a QR code on our packaging. So if you go on shelf right now, you can see our Le Verita Petit Beurre with the QR code on pack, allowing to provide full traceability to consumers thanks to blockchain.
Great, thank you, Charlotte. So maybe Matthieu, to conclude on this first question.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. If you allow me, Charles, I'm not going to answer about blockchain because I think that at the end of the day, nobody really cares about technology, or at least it's an enabler, not really a solution by itself. I think that the important part in the question is why are we speaking about traceability? I mean, most industrials have been doing traceability for the last 40 years, right? So, I mean, there should be no need for a new traceability solution. However, when you start to investigate in different industry, and we have customers in like Danone in the food industry, we have customers like DAE in the aerospace industry. So we work on a range of industries. And when you investigate the question of traceability, what you really realize is that the reality of modern supply chain is that while they have become very I mean, they've become very separated in a large multitude of small steps, and they have become very difficult to control. And the reality of traceability today is that in no industry, nobody has a full end-to-end traceability of their product, in the sense of knowing the precise life cycle of a specific product you have in your hand. Very simple example of that. 2 years ago, we had a product recall on infant formula in France. It took 4 months to remove the product from the shelves. Why? Because today you take a lot number on infant formula, you give it to a distributor, either specialized or generic distributor in France, in Europe, or anywhere in the world. Nobody is able to tell you in which store the product from this specific lot are actually displayed and on sale. And when you don't know where the products are, well, you cannot recall them, right? There's no way you can do a proper recall. So it took 4 months, while at the same time, the health of infants was in danger. So that's the reason why we are speaking about traceability today, because we actually need to take back control of industrial supply chain, which have become complex faster than we've been able to establish a better control. That's the root cause. And then when you start thinking about it, you realize quickly that if you want to do that, you need to organize exchange of information throughout the different stakeholders, throughout the supply chain, which can include hundreds of suppliers, tens of different steps. And if you want to organize this large data sharing, then you need a distributed technology. And well, at the end of the day, you call it a blockchain. And that's where the need comes from. But that's an industrial need. That's not yet another technology that is cool to speak about.
Thanks a lot. And regarding this involvement of stakeholders, what, in your opinion, are the main challenges in the adoption of blockchain by all stakeholders involved in a project, and especially for a traceability project in which the implication of a variety of stakeholders, from clients to suppliers, as you said, is key to success? Antoine, you want to start on this?
Yes, sure. I think that there is 3 main challenges. So if we want the blockchain to be massively deployed, we need the blockchain to be better known for our customer and for citizens. And sometimes the blockchain is misunderstood and confused with Bitcoin. So I believe that traceability is different than Bitcoin, and this is something that we need to promote. And I think this kind of event will definitely help. The second thing is that we need to make the impact or the power of the blockchain visible for consumer and client. So this is what exactly Charlotte mentioned with the QR code on the biscuit. Here in the environmental sector, what we do is that we do 2 things. We help capturing the data, that we help feeding the blockchain supply chain through a mobile app. And above all, we provide technology to visualize the data. And this is very helpful to help understand the technologies, the power and so on. And the third point is regarding the governance and the cooperation of the actors of the supply chain. I fully agree with Matthieu, saying that those supply chains are very complex, and that's also true when you want to take a waste and to make it a second raw materials. And we need to work on the governance, and that's also the goal of the blockchain, but also one of the major challenges.
Okay, maybe I can jump in, because we are not so far from what Antoine said also in the luxury industry. for us, and as we are focused on the downstream use case today, we see 4 key element challenges to address. One is clearly the adoption from to the final consumer, and in order to do this, we need to disconnect from the Bitcoin for sure, but we need also to bring some new apps, some new services to be able to show to the clients the full benefit of this technology. And we are working on this, but it's quite slow because we need to develop and to deploy in the meantime. In our case, also, the second point is clearly the fact that in our industry, we want to create a kind of ecosystem for Vacheron Constantin, but also for the other brand. And in the watchmaking industry, it's quite difficult to have some competitive brands to work all together, and this is a key element, and that's why we with Ariane we are trying to create a kind of consortium, and today we are able to work with Breitling, Hermes, Bosch, and others in order to be able to provide the same services to our client, because our client will have also a bag from Hermes or a product, and we need to have a kind of the same ecosystem for all of them. Lastly, but very important also for us, because we look at the client, but we look also at the intern, and it's quite new, the blockchain technology, and we need to have some solution that is quite of the solution must be enterprise and will be able to introduce themselves in the process that we can have in a big company as we are all represented today. And we work a lot with partners as Ariane to create a kind of SaaS solution in order to be able to have a low layer open protocol to be implemented and connect with all the other tools that we have internally. And this was a quite important journey for the last 18 months for Vacheron Constantin.
Okay, thanks. Charlotte, you want to give the view from Mondelez?
Yes, sure. So I would say for us, the main challenge has been, of course, the lack of knowledge and expertise on blockchain in the company. On the other hand, there was a big opportunity because all this topic of traceability and transparency was really relevant versus our Mondelez purpose of snacking made right, and also with the new purpose indeed to grow the best around us. So there was a kind of relevance. And the other thing is that there was a strong desire from our supply chain, from the consumer, from the customer to really investigate this domain. So the way we did it is actually through agility. And it was not that easy, as Guillaume or Antoine said, to implement it, because, of course, we needed to involve the whole food chain in this story, from the field to the biscuit. So it was, in our case, for the wheat industry, the farmers, the silos, the millers, the plant, also strong collaboration internally between the Harmony team, but also the IBS team, and the Innovation Hub. We leverage externally a startup called Connecting Food, and also a customer, Carrefour, which was also very involved with us. So it took us 10 months, which I think is quite of a performance, between the kickoff and the moment where you can find the product on shelf. So it was a journey of agility in a quite, I would say, complex model.
Okay, great. Matthieu, on this point?
Yeah, sure. So I'd rather give a few results of experience. So the last customer we deployed is a company that makes baby diapers. It was deployed in 2 months. So it's possible to actually deploy fairly quickly traceability and transparency. But I'd rather speak about our largest experience. We work with Danone and we ensure traceability of the products are serialized, so it's high volumes. It's like hundreds of millions of products that are sold on the Chinese market. And of course, the challenge is pretty important because it's a market and products which are very much exposed to counterfeiting. So our role is to track infant formula from Danone, from the 6 factories of Danone in the world, down to the retailers, through their network or Tier 1, Tier 2, etc. suppliers, so wholesale distributors downstream in China. So we collect all inbound and outbound flows in the warehouses of these different distributors with 130 warehouses overall. And we collect this data to give Danone a view of what are the flows, what are the level of inventories, etc., of their products on the third-party warehouses. So when you start to deploy that, the first difficulty you meet is that in reality, nobody wants to share information. Because you are an industrial, you are a supplier, your large customer downstream asks you for information. The first thing you think is, they're going to spy on me. So you don't want to share. So that's what you need to overcome. From my perspective, what you need to overcome is not really technical questions. You can, in our case, you can deploy a node of blockchain in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, if really you don't have much ability in technology, but that's fast. The question is, why are you going to do it? Why are you going to get in exchange? And this leads really to the question of how do you distribute value through the supply chain? What's the added value of traceability and transparency for suppliers? And this leads to also to one important point. All the properties of blockchain come from one thing. It's a distributed database. And you need to be, every industrial needs to be very careful about that, because you have a whole lot of actors, either technology actors or industrial actors, who actually deploy their own blockchain on their own infrastructure, on their own cloud. If you have one actor that concentrates all of the node of a blockchain, is actually controlling it. In reality, it can modify any data in the blockchain because it's controlling everything. So there is really a question here where you want to establish a network to share information and to share value throughout the supply chain for the benefits of customers and consumers. But if you have one powerful actor who concentrates everything, is actually taking control of all the data of the supply chain, and that's extremely dangerous. So, that's something that most industrials start to understand, that cooperative and food industry start to understand, and that needs to be answered. And on that aspect, technology, or rather the way the technology is deployed, its governance, is actually an answer. So you have really, it's a twofold question. What's the value, and is it the right governance for common interest? We don't hear you, Charles. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, so you mentioned R&D, collective food, and so on. Could you please share your views on the best way for a large company like Vacheron, Constantin, Suez, or Mondelez to access blockchain? Is it through a consortium or a partnership with startups? Charlotte, you want to start on this?
Yeah, sure. So in our case, we chose actually a partnership with a startup called Connecting Food. Actually, the main reason why we made this choice, I would say, is that this startup had already a quite solid experience already in the wheat blockchain, and they were actually already working with one of our suppliers. So we found it was easier for us to capitalize on this existing knowledge and expertise. As I mentioned before, our main challenge was the complete lack of knowledge and expertise in this domain for us. The other thing that we were thinking is that this startup will allow us to be agile. Indeed, we wanted to go fast on this project and not to be, overwhelmed by complexity and technology. And maybe the third element of answer was that we were wanting to really talk with people who had the same language as us, which is the language of the consumer. And in reality, we were in contact with other, big companies, and we were, not understanding anything of what they were talking about. So there was this question of, talking the same language. And for us, our language was the consumer language. So we wanted to have also people that were able to understand our language, understand of view in this domain, and not too technical.
Okay, if I may, for Vacheron Constantin, in our case today, and to answer to your question, Charles, we did both actually. At the beginning, we partnered with Verhaeghe when it was at the early stage a startup, but we push them and we support them to create and to build a strong consortium. We are today one of the founders of this consortium. We are a partner and member of the advisory committee with Breitling and Bash, and we truly believe the long-term view is to have this consortium organization in order to be part of the blockchain processes and the blockchain evolution that we want for the protocol. So clearly the long-term vision for Vacheron Constantin is to be part of a consortium. It was not possible to start with because we didn't find any at the beginning. That's why we start with a startup and we help them to grow. But for the long term, it's clearly the consortium aspect. And to answer to your question, Matthieu, also, it's clearly in order to us to share the data and to be able to control at many levels of any brand all over the nodes in order to be trust and completely respectful of the data privacy of our client.
Just to comment on this, and I think that the journey for Suez and the environment sector and industry is very similar to what Guillaume and Charlotte mentioned, meaning that we believe that the fight against the depletion of natural resources deserve more cooperation between the actors of this waste to resource supply chain. And this is really the end goals and where we want to go. Also for the very good reason mentioned by Matthieu regarding that not only one actor could be the owner of the blockchain, that could be a nonsense. So we really want to go in that direction. We also need to address the maturity of our environment and to start to showcase the blockchain, to learn. I think that we need also to take into account the learning curve. And that's the reason why we started by first use case in agriculture, also with farmer, Charlotte, and also to a partnership with a startup specialized in traceability, which is called Crystal Chain, and help us to reach this first step. And we will continue to implement new use cases.
Yeah, Matthieu, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, we are a startup. However, I think that who cares about whether your provider is a startup or not a startup? That's not really the question. I'm to some extent, I'm a bit fed up with that kind of blah blah around startup, etc. That's not the real question. The question is who is able to deliver, who is mature enough to deliver, and that's not related to the size of the provider. My previous company was in the B2B cloud business. It was acquired by Fujitsu. I've been VP in charge of the cloud strategy for Fujitsu for a few years. Let me tell you, between a company the size of my previous company and a large group like Fujitsu, you can have a huge difference in maturity and in terms of what cloud is, and it's not necessarily in the sense that you would imagine when you think about startup, right? So you have small providers who are much more mature. And what's important is to go to the provider who is mature, and that's especially true in digital because it goes so fast that some of the existing players, some of the incumbent players can be on technology and on point of view that are, I don't know, 10 years old. And in digital, 10 years is like just huge. For a mature player, the one who's able to deliver. And I think one good indicator is exactly what Charlotte mentioned earlier. I mean, when people start explaining that technology is complex and blah, 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 it's so much cryptology and you can't understand it really. Well, I think there is the rule from Boilot 5 centuries ago is still very true. when you understand something, you can explain it clearly. If you can't explain something simply, then you just don't understand it. So my point of view, rather than startup or large provider, is go for the provider who's able to explain simply what he is doing, because the other one just doesn't know what he's speaking about, or he's trying to bullshit you.
Thank you, Matthieu. You've all made a first step on the use of blockchain to reinforce traceability in your businesses. Do you already have plans for new use case? So this question is maybe focusing on Vacheron, Mondelez, and Suez. So Guillaume, maybe you want to start?
Yeah, okay. No, yes, the plan for Vacheron Constantin is quite clear at the end. We have a kind of a three-step approach. First of all, as we just finalize the test and we validate that there is an interest for the client, the first step will be to deploy to the whole collection of Vacheron Constantin. This will be done in the coming weeks and months now, in order to have a kind of homogeneous park of product, in order to have the link between the Vacheron and all the product in circulation. The second step will be to propose new services within the digital certificate we'll propose with our watch. We could imagine resale option, we could imagine lost and found, we could imagine e-warranty, we could imagine many things. So it will come in a second step, and we are trying to develop all these new services for the time being. And the first step for us will be to go more in the upstream supply chain and to add some transparency feature to our product in order to be able to use this digital certificate as a passport and to enhance some new label that will come about where does our raw material comes from, or where do we supply our product, and so on and so on. So normal use case, I would say, from blockchain, but we first want to be able to deploy the token to our client. So this will come in 2 to 3 years. We have some project to deal with, but it will take some time in order to be in line with the adoption of our client. And also we try to onboard other brands from the group in the topic to create this ecosystem.
Okay, great. Charlotte, maybe you want to share the view of Mondelez regarding the new potential use case?
Sure. So as I said, we are live on the Lu Petit Beurre biscuit since this summer, so it's quite new. And what we did is that we have implemented in the app the possibility for the consumer to share their feedback, and so we have a kind of survey to measure some KPIs, and we will be able to track the feedback from consumers. So what we would like first to learn from them is that what interests them the most in this traceability and what the technology is able to provide them. So for instance, is it where the wheat is harvested and when? The stories about the farmers that really grow this wheat, is it about when and where this wheat has been transformed into flour? Is it where and when this flour has been baked into the Lu Petit Beurre biscuit? So we want to learn that first of all. So that's the first step, I would say. And then the second step, maybe, is that we believe that regarding this strong need to have more traceability and transparency, it could be interesting to investigate other ingredients. So for the moment, we have focused on the wheat because wheat is the most important ingredient for biscuits. But I would say even further, one of the thinking that we have is that one big interest for blockchain would be maybe to bring more transparency into the farmer's income. You maybe know that with Harmony we are delivering a premium to the farmers to improve their income, and with Cocoa Alive, so the other program that we have on cocoa at Mondelez, we are also supporting the farmers' income, and we believe that there is more and more need from a consumer standpoint to have more transparency about these programs, and in particular on the way we are supporting the farmers' income. So it could be interesting in the future, and I don't know if it will be possible, but I think that for our company, it would be very interesting to build trust in this element in the future.
Very good. Just to complete what Guillaume and Charlotte said, and just to give you some overview on Suez blockchain roadmap. So we've just launched a circular chain, the blockchain of the circular economy. The first use case is around agriculture, where we want to give additional traceability on a very local circular loop to make sure that the organic matters of your wastewaters, mainly phosphorus and nitrogen, will be used as nutriment to feed. So doing this, we avoid farmers to we help farmers to limit the usage of mine phosphorus or artificial nitrogen. That's the first use case, and we are committed to massively deploy this technology to a larger number of customers. We have a quite good feedback on this, and we want to expand this this traceability to other type of waste and resources. And we could say that all type of resources are subject to a better traceability and a better waste to resource traceability. On top of my mind, there is obviously the plastic that we all talk a lot about, and that's normal when we talk about sustainability. There is also the construction waste, which are quite massive, and more to come. So we are committed to further deploy the blockchain on other flows, on other waste flows.
Great, thank you, Antoine. Maybe to conclude, Matthieu, could you please explain us your views on the next possible impacts of blockchain on traceability in terms of industries?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I think, as I was mentioning at the beginning, I mean, traceability is like a really global need across all industries. So I'd say that the question is really at what speed different industries wake up to that need or actually want to address it. I'll take a good example. One of the very the most raising raw material is cobalt, for instance. Cobalt is used in all batteries, so it's really raising because of electric cars, etc. More than 60% of the cobalt worldwide is comes from Republic Democratic Congo, where it's mostly mined by slaves and children. And these mines are mostly under control of armed groups. That's well known. Nobody in the world buys cobalt from Democratic Republic of Congo. But yet, it's 60% of the cobalt worldwide. So there must be something. And that at one point that needs to be addressed, because we can't really say that for a more sustainable world, we are going to buy cars with electric batteries when these batteries are made out of raw materials that involve slavery. That just doesn't work, right? So that's on the raw materials. There is a whole lot of things to be done, and I think that's probably a very important area. And then, if you look at it in terms of sectors, you definitely see actors with a strong will to move things in the cosmetics industry, in textile, in aeronautics, because you have strong questions of over traceability of maintenance elements in aeronautics. Well, I think that the most important thing in terms of tendency, if you look at it globally, is that what is at stake really is, when we think about traceability of supply chain, is organizing the work of industrial supply chain end to end. And if you look at it from the perspective of European industrials, the question is, who's going to provide the infrastructure to organize these supply chains, to organize the work of industrials? If all of the suppliers are Chinese, the control over European industries is going to through Chinese and US platforms. And that's a really important element, because it means that tomorrow, if the next Trump or the next Xi Jinping thinks that to impose, to force penalties over European industries you can just shut down their traceability platform.
Yeah.
You can imagine what's going to happen. So
Great.
there is a strong link between the question of sovereignty and the question of traceability and blockchain industries.
Great. Thank you very much, Matthieu. So thank you so much for your answers. It was so interesting to see the potential of blockchain to enforce traceability. So in 20 minutes, we will have a fireside chat on space and blockchain, so another subject. And let's meet at the PwC booth at 3 p.m. to understand how to audit crypto assets, and at 4 p.m. with Clara Toc and Mark Rigaud to discuss risk and compliance impacts of blockchain. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.